what is so interesting to me when I look back is the day that I left that station and I turned that new contract down for X number of years. I had no clue what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
The only thing on my mind was nursing the baby, changing the baby, teaching the 3-year-old his ABCs. That was my complete focus.
Yeah.
And so for me to see how God went before me and prepared me for something entirely different and new, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did to prepare for it myself.
Right.
We're talking about the waiting, but I think being okay with all of those in between years and seasons that come, there's something to that. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode 2 of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. I'm your host, Emily Wood, and today back with us for a second episode is Lauren Stasel, a licensed professional counselor and friend of mine. You work at Wellspring in Republic now. Well, I love that you came in again. Thank you.
Absolutely. No problem.
We were kind of in the middle of our conversation last time, and if you guys weren't with us, we were talking about those seasons in life where as mom changes, the family starts to feel the change. So for us, we talked about job changes in our lives and how that kind of changed everything for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But there can be a lot of different transitions that we face as moms, whether we're going into a job, stepping away from a job, or there's another change that hits our family. We're sort of that nucleus that what happens to us, even if we think it doesn't, we pretty quickly soon see our children are feeling the impact, or our spouse.
Yeah. And that's really tricky because, as moms, we want everything to just stay calm and flow, right? But when we find ourselves in this transition, sometimes our kids can have behavior issues or not sleep well or start having some anxiety. And we really have to tune into those, right? A big thing that I encourage families to do is communicate about what those look like. When kids are having a behavior, we see it on the surface level, and there's always roots to that behavior, So whether that be spending more one-on-one time with each other or keeping our routines very concise so that we can get through this transition phase, making routines, and just really honing in on what they need and working through that. I think that's really important when you're talking about your families. And then with spouses, I think it's really important to set realistic expectations, right? So you were at home, right? And so then your job transitions to home.
Susie homemaker.
Right?
I wish.
And so is my husband expecting the floor to be vacuumed every day and a home-cooked meal every night,
every
right?
day, Lauren.
I know.
I think every week would be pretty good.
But what are those expectations? Because I think a lot of times we put those on ourselves and we don't ever check in with our spouse or maybe even our family, right? Everyone has a playbook of how they think things are going to go, and we have to really talk about those because otherwise we're going to face disappointment, more behavior situations with our young children. And I think it's just wise to be able to have that good open communication.
Well, Lauren, I really think you are right when it comes to the impact because for me, I thought I was managing it as well as I could when my workload increased and when my responsibilities shifted a lot. But I did start to notice with my toddler son, he was having some struggles. And that makes you feel guilty as a parent.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side, I think as long as you recognize it and you try to support them, we're not in control of everything.
No.
So there's going to be seasons that are harder even on the little ones in your house.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of navigating that is being really real with your kids and talking about your struggles. Your kids need to see you struggle. They're watching you. They're watching how you do it. You're their model, right? So those little eyes are watching how I navigate frustration, anger, stress, change, all of that. And sometimes it helps to narrate it. Mommy's really struggling today. I'm having a hard time with XYZ, whatever it is. And I know I'm going to get through that. And this is what I'm going to do to help myself. And just kind of walking them through that because change can feel scary. Stress, emotions, when little ones see their mom or dad or whoever going through something that's hard, they can feel panicky or stress. And so being able to show them that resiliency that you have really builds
Yes.
their confidence and their resiliency as well.
So what can we do in those moments to prepare?
I think a big part of preparing is communicating. Again, I know I've talked about that so much, but I can't stress it enough. We do so much assume
Oh, yeah.
these days.
Doesn't my husband know that my day is really super
Right,
busy? I told him I had to do all these
right?
things.
We assume.
Yeah.
We also avoid hard things, right?
Interesting.
We avoid these hard conversations because they're not fun to have. It's just easier to sweep it under the rug and move on. And so I encourage people, don't avoid these tough conversations or planning phases. I mean, you're really kind of straddling this threshold of what was and what is going to be when you're going through the transition phase. And so I really think it's important to plan as best you can for what this week's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
I stay late this day. That's not normal. How are we going to navigate through that? What is our meal going to be? How, who's doing baths? What time will you be home? And just really almost over communicating, I think is probably my suggestion.
Yeah.
Over communicating, and even over communicating with our kids sometimes I think can be helpful in that transition phase. Not forever, but during that time where things feel a little uncertain.
So for me, I felt like things, there were hard changes, right? Even whenever I was at home. When you have a new baby,
Oh, yeah.
it's all of a sudden the 3-year-old becomes a mini adult because you need them to go and get the diapers and
Right.
do all these different things, and they become the helper. But I feel like it did calm down for our family once we had a parent home and able to manage the home front a little bit more as time went on. You get your
Oh,
new
yes.
routines
Absolutely.
and all of that
That
starts to fall
becomes
into
more
place.
second nature, right?
So we were in that zone for a couple of years there, a few years, until my little one, he started preschool recently. And I thought, all right, I'm going to have 2 in school. This place is going to be spick and span. And I'm going to have all this time. I'm going to go to the gym, all the things that I think I'm going to do.
Right.
And no sooner did I drop him off and shed a few tears, did I have my computer out. And I'm making goals
Right.
for what I want to do next. And I'm like, I've got them into school and I still want to be with them. But what am I doing next? And so what happened with me on the professional side was something that had always been a pastime for me, all of a sudden came to the forefront as my own business. So I have flipped houses in the past. We've never moved into something that wasn't a foreclosure or worse and redone it. And people will ask you for help with their projects.
That's awesome.
Well, all of a sudden those projects become whole homes.
Wow.
A build, a complete renovation. And I realized, okay, I need to scramble and figure out how to charge for my services. And so as soon as the kids were back in school, and then I had that time, drop off early in the morning, head to the job site, go see clients, all of a sudden this business blossoms.
Wow.
That, Lauren, I never, ever thought about doing that kind of work. It was just something that I enjoyed and that I was good at for ourselves.
Right.
But then I found out that there was a need and there was a
Yeah.
business there. And so now we're in a season of life where I have completely shifted out of media and into homes.
Yeah.
And I'm part of the creativity there. It is creativity. It's just different from what I was doing before, but it's still people and getting to know families, and there is still that element of it. So it's been great.
Yeah.
But what is so interesting to me when I look back is the day that I left that station and I turned that new contract down for X number of years. I had no clue what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
The only thing on my mind was nursing the baby, changing the baby, teaching the 3-year-old his ABCs. That was my complete focus.
Yeah.
And so for me to see how God went before me and prepared me for something entirely different and new, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did to prepare for it myself.
Right.
We're talking about the waiting, but I think being okay with all of those in between years and
Yep.
seasons that come,
Yep.
there's something to that.
Yeah, I will never forget when I first had a kid, and I don't know who said it, but a friend, probably close friend or family, said, it's only a season. Like the first 6 weeks, the first 8 weeks, whatever is hard, or even if it's just a season of waiting, there's something on the other side, and we really just have to press into that and
like sleep.
yeah.
We know sleep's coming.
Yeah, and just
It
really
may not
press
be
into
until
that.
after a year for Emily's children.
And know that
but
this
it's
is
coming.
just a season, right? Even if it
Yeah.
is a year or 2 or 5, right, of raising kids, and then all of a sudden something blossoms out of nowhere, right? But you can go back. I encourage people to do this all the time. When something pretty significant's happened in your life, go back and look and see, where did I come from? How did I get here? What were
Yes.
the little things that were set in motion or put in place, or the people that came into my life for me to be where I'm at now? And we can pull from that in times of waiting or, going through a darker season, and know that there's something on the other side.
Well, you know how everybody stops you when you have little kids and you're like, just enjoy these
Yes.
times. It's just going to fly by. I definitely feel like that.
Yeah.
So our youngest, he still likes Sesame Street. And I'm just thinking, that's ticking away.
Oh,
I mean, at any day, we're done with that.
Yeah.
We're done with Paw Patrol.
I know.
And so just, I do feel that. I feel grateful because not everybody gets that opportunity
Absolutely.
to pause things. And I'm grateful for what I'm doing now and that I have more control
Yeah.
over how much work I take
Absolutely.
on and how much I do.
Right.
And so for us, we are a family of faith. So for us, it was a matter of not just praying through that, but seeing what God was putting before us. Hey, I want you to take a break.
Yeah. Right. And I think, too, we need to recognize when we're going through the transitions, what are our limits? What are our boundaries, right? All of a sudden, all of this just felt awful. And maybe it was because I wasn't, or I didn't know what my limits and my boundaries were. And they were changing because we had kids, right? We had a family that we were taking care of. That's different than when you were 20, right? And you started your career.
I mean,
I now
Yes.
have to, or need to, or want to, all of those things, be home at a certain time to cook dinner or to do baths in bed and all of those things.
Well,
and that's really important
for
to
me,
know those.
on what you're saying, what I'm thinking about is when my oldest was playing t-ball and we had a baby. And the t-ball games are during the week at 5 p.m. news time.
Yeah.
Or 6 p.m.
Right.
news time. And actually, I think that Henry was on that team with Theo when they were little. I mean, they had just started Coach Pitch.
Yep.
Weren't they on that team
think
together?
so.
And I'm sitting there at the ballpark and I can see TV station towers
Right.
on the other side of the field. And it felt like that was God's way of telling me, you wouldn't be here if you hadn't listened and stepped away and
Right.
trusted.
Yeah.
Right. And so we get those moments where,
Affirmation.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the affirmation that we need. Lauren, thank you so much for coming in today. I am grateful for you, grateful for your insights as always.
It was an honor.
It was fun. And thank you guys for taking time out of your day to listen in on our conversation or watch if you're on YouTube. Next week, we are going to be talking about all things back to school and the craziness and fun. I mean, there is some fun.
Oh, yeah.
And excitement that comes with it. We always hate when summer ends at our house, but the new routines and how to prioritize your time. Is it possible to do it all? Well, my next guest says that it is, but the spoiler alert on that is you do have to say no to some things. I'm not very good at that.
I know. It's tough.
And if you've been watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss when our next episode drops. We have a new one coming out every Wednesday, and you can find At Home with Emily wherever you get your podcast, or you can head to aroundtheozarks.com and be sure to sign up for our daily newsletter there so you don't miss a single episode. We've enjoyed it today, and I hope you've had fun with us. We'll see you next time.